Autumn leaves were falling in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Boston where the Williams family lived. Olivia Williams gazed out the window and sighed deeply. She was uncertain about the direction her life was taking. "Olivia, telephone," her mother Eleanor's voice echoed from downstairs. Olivia lightly fixed her hair as she descended the stairs. In the living room, Eleanor, dressed in an elegant dress, was gracefully holding the telephone. "It's from your workplace," her mother said, with a hint of disappointment in her voice. Olivia silently took the receiver. On the other end was a colleague from her workplace, Brighton Cleaning Service. After a brief conversation about a scheduled change for tomorrow, she hung up. "You're working again tomorrow?" Eleanor frowned. "On a Sunday?" "Mom, cleaning companies operate on weekends too," Olivia replied quietly. "I never thought you would stay in such a temporary job for so long," Eleanor continued, choosing her words carefully. "After majoring in education in college." Olivia silently headed toward the kitchen. This conversation had been repeated countless times. 7 years ago, she had given up her dream of becoming an elementary school teacher, and the cleaning job she had started as a temporary measure was still continuing. For her parents, it was nothing short of a family disgrace. The front door opened, and Olivia's father Howard entered. A retired bank executive, he still maintained an erect posture and dignified bearing. "Dad, how was golf?" Olivia asked with a smile. "Oh, the usual," Howard replied lightly as he headed to the living room. "Eleanor, have you heard from Ashley?" "Yes, she called this afternoon," Eleanor's voice suddenly brightened. "She and Charles are coming next weekend." Olivia silently listened while making tea. Her younger sister Ashley was an elite who had graduated from a prestigious university and worked at a major financial company in New York. She was her parents' pride and was constantly compared to Olivia. "How's Charles?" Howard asked. There was obvious expectation in his voice. "He's doing great. He said his promotion is almost certain. Isn't it wonderful to become a department head at 30? Olivia brought tea to the living room. "Mom, Dad, I made tea." Her parents gave her a slight smile but quickly returned to talking about Ashley. "It's really wonderful that she got engaged. To be with such a young and promising man like Charles," Eleanor said happily. "His father is a member of the golf club, I met him the other day." "A fine family," Howard added. Olivia quietly returned to her room. Family time was always like this. Stories of Ashley's success and implicit comparisons to her own failure. Back in her room, Olivia took out her cell phone and checked her messages. It was from Michael. "Do you have time this evening?" She smiled slightly. She had met Michael at the cleaning company where she worked. He also worked there and always treated her kindly. They had quietly started dating 2 months ago, but she hadn't told her parents yet. She thought they would never approve of a romance between two cleaners. "Of course," she replied. "Can we meet at the park at 6? Time with Michael was her only solace. He listened carefully to her, respected her choices. His reasons for working, his dreams, his way of thinking, all of these attracted her. Olivia looked out the window and sighed again. Tomorrow was Sunday, the day of the weekly family dinner. It would surely be dominated by talk of Ashley again. And next weekend, her sister and her fiancé would visit. How should she explain her occupation? "I should be true to myself," she whispered softly. "But it's difficult in this house." The phone rang again, and her mother called out, "Olivia." "It's Ashley." Olivia slowly stood up. She put on a smile and descended the stairs. Sunday morning, Olivia arrived a bit early at her parents' house for the family dinner. In the kitchen, Eleanor was busy preparing the meal. "Can I help with anything?" Olivia asked, but her mother answered without even turning around. "No need. I'm trying a special recipe for Ashley's visit next weekend." Olivia smiled quietly and headed to the living room. Her father Howard was sitting in his favorite armchair, reading the newspaper. "Hello, Olivia," he said without looking up from his paper. "How are you today?" "I'm fine, Dad," she answered. "I went to the park with Michael yesterday." Howard raised his face slightly. "Michael? Who's that?" "I mentioned him before. Someone I work with." Howard returned to his newspaper. "Oh, the cleaning fellow." Olivia said nothing. This reaction was expected. There was no point in telling them more about Michael. When dinner time came, the three sat at the table. Eleanor started the conversation. "Ashley told me that Charles plans to look for a penthouse in Manhattan once his next promotion is confirmed," she said happily. "He really is a wonderful young man. His father talked to me about investments after golf," Howard proudly added. "They are truly a good family." Olivia put down her fork. "By the way, am I invited to dinner next weekend?" "When Ashley and Charles come." Her parents exchanged glances for a moment. "Of course, your family," Eleanor said, but there was something strained in her voice. "I wonder how I should introduce you to Charles," Eleanor continued thoughtfully. Olivia frowned. "What do you mean?" "I'm Olivia, Ashley's sister." "Not that," Eleanor spoke carefully. "Your occupation." "You can say I'm a cleaner." "That's the truth." Howard cleared his throat. "Olivia, I want you to understand. Charles is a promising young man. His family has high social status, and he himself is an executive candidate at a company. First impressions are important." "So my job is embarrassing?" Anger mixed in Olivia's voice. "That's not it," Eleanor quickly said. "Just, for the first impression." "What about the first impression?" Olivia pushed her meal away. "Are you embarrassed to have me as family because I'm a cleaner?" "That's not our intention," Howard said in a lowered voice. "It's just, when we think about Ashley's future." Olivia sighed. "I get it. So what are you going to say?" "What am I doing?" "How about saying you're in a career transition period?" Eleanor suggested. "From the field of education to something else." Olivia silently stood up. "I'm going home." "Olivia, dinner isn't over yet," Howard said. "My appetite is," she replied quietly. The week passed quickly. On Friday, Olivia met Michael at a small cafe. "I have a dinner at my parents' tomorrow. My sister and her fiancé are coming," she said. Michael smiled gently. "Are you nervous?" "Yes, a little," she answered honestly. "My parents seem ashamed of my job. They were worried about how to introduce me to my sister's fiancé." "You're a wonderful person, Olivia," Michael took her hand. "Whatever job you do, it doesn't determine your worth." Olivia smiled. With Michael, she could always feel her own value. "Michael, I haven't told my parents about you yet," she said bashfully. "Don't worry about it," he answered calmly. "You can tell them when you're ready." The next day, Olivia nervously knocked on her parents' door. From inside, she could hear conversation and laughter. Ashley opened the door. Dressed in what appeared to be an expensive dress with a perfect hairstyle, she smiled at her sister. "Olivia. It's been a while." Ashley embraced her with superficial warmth. "Come in, I want you to meet Charles." In the living room, her parents were chatting with a handsome young man. Charles exuded a refined aura and wore what looked like an expensive suit. "Oh, this is my sister Olivia," Ashley introduced. Charles politely extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Olivia. I've heard a lot about you from Ashley." "Hello," Olivia smiled. "What have you heard about me?" After a moment's thought, he said, "That you're a caring and kind sister." It was clearly an impromptu response. When dinner began, the conversation centered on Charles's work and career. He spoke with great confidence. Next month, my promotion to department head will likely be confirmed. Becoming a department head at 30 is unprecedented in the company, he said. Her parents nodded in admiration. Eleanor asked, and after that? Eventually, I'm aiming for vice president, and in the future, CEO, Charles answered confidently. With my abilities, I think it's quite possible. Olivia raised her wine glass, remembering Michael. He never boasted about his achievements. Charles suddenly turned to Olivia. So, what do you do, Olivia? A momentary silence fell over the table. Eleanor quickly answered, Olivia is in a career transition period. After studying in the field of education, she's now exploring new paths. Olivia bit her lip. Should she lie or tell the truth? Actually, she began, but Howard hastily interrupted. Would you like another glass of wine, Charles? This wine is a special vintage. The conversation was skillfully steered in another direction. Olivia silently continued her meal. Her presence once again faded into the background. After dinner, while Ashley and Charles were on the terrace, her parents called Olivia into the study. Olivia, we need to talk to you, Eleanor said quietly. Howard sat in a chair and said with a serious expression, Ashley and Charles plan to stay here for 2 weeks. And? Olivia asked, feeling anxiety spread in her chest. During that time, we'd like you to not come over, Eleanor said. At least not for dinner. Why? Olivia's voice trembled. Because I'm embarrassing? Howard sighed. Try to understand, Olivia. Charles's family consists of influential people. We want to build a good relationship with them. If they knew we had a daughter who's a cleaner. Embarrassing, Olivia finished Howard's sentence. I'm embarrassing to you. That's not it, Eleanor protested weakly. It's just for Ashley's future. Fine, Olivia stood up. I understand. I'll leave. She left the study and departed from the house without saying to anyone. Once in her car, she called Michael while holding back tears. The next day, Olivia visited her parents' house again. After spending the night with Michael to recover from the shock of the dinner, she had decided to calmly talk with her parents. She wanted to repair the family relationship. When she knocked on the front door, Ashley opened it. Her expression was cold. Olivia? What are you doing here today? Ashley's voice was filled with distaste. I just want to talk to the family, Olivia answered quietly. About yesterday. Ashley reluctantly let her in. In the living room, Eleanor, Howard, and Charles were seated. All three showed displeased expressions when they saw Olivia enter. Olivia, what do you want? Howard's voice was harsh. We finished our conversation yesterday. No, we didn't, Olivia said, gathering her courage. I want you to reconsider what happened yesterday. I am a member of this family. Whatever job I have, that shouldn't change. A member. Howard stood up and raised his voice. It's embarrassing to have an unmarried daughter who's a cleaner when Ashley's fiancé is here. Howard. Eleanor tried to restrain her husband, but words fueled by anger couldn't be stopped. Charles is elite, Eleanor joined in. If he stays with someone like you, he might come to his senses and Ashley could lose him. Olivia stood dumbfounded. But I'm family, her voice trembled. Ashley coldly retorted, a real family wouldn't bring shame. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. Vowing never to return to this house again, she silently left. She got into her car and headed to Michael's apartment. He was her only emotional support now. When she knocked on Michael's apartment door, he immediately came out. As soon as he saw Olivia's face, he seemed to sense that something had happened. What's wrong? He gently asked as he invited her in. Olivia told him everything. Her parents' words, Ashley's coldness, the pain she felt. When she finished, she broke down in tears. Michael silently embraced her. It's okay, Olivia, he said quietly. I'll be your family. Always. Those words sank into her heart. For a long time, she just cried in Michael's arms. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something, Michael said to her once she had calmed down a bit. But this might not be the right time. What is it? Olivia asked, wiping her tears. It's about my job, he said. The cleaning job is. Are you quitting too? Olivia became anxious. Michael smiled. No, it's not that. Actually. That night, they talked about many things. Michael's confession, their future, and the meaning of family. They reached a new understanding of each other and renewed their commitment to support one another. 3 weeks later, they quietly got married. Only a few of Michael's friends attended the small ceremony in a little church. Olivia didn't inform her parents or Ashley. She no longer needed their blessing. Time passed, and a year went by. Olivia's life had changed significantly. She was no longer working as a cleaner. She had begun to walk a new path with Michael. One day, an unexpected piece of mail arrived. An elegant envelope with Ashley Williams and Charles Hamilton printed on it. It was a wedding invitation. Why now? Olivia asked Michael. The invitation had a handwritten note saying, "We want you to attend as family." However, there had been no contact from her parents. Are you going? Michael asked. Olivia hesitated. I don't know, but maybe it's a chance for reconciliation. I respect your decision, Michael said. If you go, I'll go with you. After thinking for several days, Olivia decided to attend. After a year of silence, she thought if there was an opportunity to repair the relationship with her family, she should try it. On the day of the wedding, Olivia and Michael quietly appeared at the venue. The ballroom of a luxury hotel was elegantly decorated and bustling with many guests. As Olivia entered, several guests turned around. But what she was most concerned about was the reaction of her parents and Ashley, standing on the opposite side of the room. At first, they didn't seem to notice her. But suddenly, Ashley fixed her gaze on her and showed an expression of surprise. Then her parents also noticed her and showed confused expressions. Olivia took Michael's arm and slowly approached them. The expressions of her parents and Ashley gradually changed. Particularly when they recognized Michael, the color drained from all three faces. Charles was even more surprised. His expression turned pale. He was staring not at Olivia, but at Michael. As the venue fell silent, her father Howard opened his mouth with a trembling voice. He is Michael Green, of Clean Life. Charles interrupted. The president, his voice trembled. Olivia squeezed Michael's hand tightly. A small smile played on her lips. After a long silence, she finally spoke. It's been a while, Dad, Mom. Ashley, congratulations on your marriage. Only the sound of a waiter passing by with champagne glasses echoed in the frozen atmosphere. Howard and Eleanor were at a loss for words, and Ashley stood motionless with wide eyes. Charles's face was pale, with sweat beading on his forehead. Michael politely stepped forward and extended his hand. Let me introduce myself properly, I'm Michael Green. Congratulations on your daughter's wedding. Howard mechanically extended his hand and shook hands. His hand was trembling. You are Clean Life's. Eleanor could barely squeeze out the words. Yes, founder and CEO, Michael calmly replied. I met Olivia at the same cleaning site. I regularly participate in cleaning work myself to understand the conditions on site. Olivia quietly placed her hand on her husband's arm. A small light of pride shone in her eyes. A year ago, Michael had revealed everything to her. That he wasn't just a cleaner, but the founder of a rapidly growing environmentally friendly cleaning service company called Clean Life. He regularly participated in cleaning work himself to understand the conditions on site and build trust with his employees. Ashley cleared her throat, breaking the tense silence. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? Olivia calmly asked in return. That Michael was the president of a company. Olivia shrugged slightly. I didn't have the opportunity. You all kicked me out of the house. The unmarried cleaner must leave, you said. Her parents' faces turned red. They realized that several guests nearby were looking at them with curious eyes. It's not appropriate to talk about this here, Eleanor said in a low voice. Let's move to our table. The five moved to a small table in the corner of the venue. Charles was clearly disturbed and sat restlessly in his chair. So, when did you get married? Eleanor attempted to start a conversation. Last October, Olivia answered. It was a small ceremony. Why didn't you tell us? Howard asked. His voice contained more sadness than anger. Do you really want to know? Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. You kicked me out of the house. A cleaner's daughter is embarrassing, you said. That day, I decided never to come back. Eleanor was at a loss for words. You want to say, how could you get married without our knowledge? Olivia quietly asked. Or perhaps, if we had known Michael was wealthy, we would have treated you differently? A heavy silence fell. The truth was evident to everyone. If they had known Michael's status, their attitude would have been completely different. Charles suddenly cleared his throat. Mr. Green, his voice was tense. About the interview last week, what was the result? Michael calmly replied, You're referring to yourself, Mr. Hamilton. Ashley stared at her husband's face. Charles, what are you talking about? Charles shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Actually, last week, I was considering a slight career change. What do you mean? Ashley's voice turned cold. Charles had a job interview at my company last week, Michael explained. It seems he had recently lost his previous job. Ashley was shocked. Lost your previous job? But you said you were promoted. Charles's face turned bright red. I can explain, Ashley. It was a temporary issue. According to his resume, he was fired 3 months ago. Michael's voice was calm. The reasons were poor performance and lack of teamwork. From across the venue, the host's voice could be heard urging the wedding proceedings to continue. Ashley's face was pale. We kicked our daughter out because we were worried about what others would think, and it turns out she was the most successful, Eleanor murmured softly. A look of regret showed in her eyes. Why didn't you say anything? Ashley questioned Olivia. Her voice was no longer accusatory but filled with genuine curiosity. Olivia answered quietly, because you wouldn't have believed me. You only saw appearances and titles. She took a deep breath. Michael cherished me from when he was thought to be a cleaner. That's true love. Charles could no longer hide his anxiety and approached Michael, asking in a low voice, What about the interview results? I really have ability. The content of that resume was a bit exaggerated, but... Michael calmly replied, Unfortunately, someone who cannot value family cannot work in my company. The color drained from Charles's face. Ashley was looking at her fiancé with cold eyes. But we're getting married today, right? Charles said to Ashley in a weak voice. Ashley didn't answer. Doubt was visible in her eyes. She couldn't cancel the ceremony in front of the guests, but her heart had already begun to waver. I wish you both happiness, Olivia stood up. We'll be taking our leave now. Wait, Eleanor grabbed her arm. Don't go. Can't we start over? Today is Ashley's day, Olivia said gently. We'll step aside for her sake. But... Howard also stood up. Will you forgive us? Olivia looked at her father. There was a sincere look of regret in his eyes. Time will tell whether I can forgive you, she answered quietly. But remember one thing. True value isn't in titles or appearances, but in how we treat each other. Michael took Olivia's hand, and they quietly left the venue. Behind them, they could hear Ashley and Charles arguing in low voices. "Are you really okay with this?" Michael asked when they got into the car. "It might have been a chance for reconciliation with your family." Olivia looked out the window. "Not today. But someday, maybe." "I respect your decision," Michael squeezed her hand. "But remember, a real family isn't just about blood connections. It's about respecting and supporting each other." Olivia smiled at her husband. "Then you are my real family." The car quietly drove away. The wedding venue gradually became smaller behind them. A week later, the doorbell rang at Olivia and Michael's home. Olivia frowned at the unexpected visitor and opened the door. There stood her father, Howard. His usually dignified figure now seemed shrunken. Shadows of fatigue hung under his eyes, and his back was slightly hunched. "Dad," Olivia said in surprise. "Can we talk?" Howard's voice was weak. Olivia silently invited him in. In the living room, Michael stood up and greeted his father-in-law. "Please sit down," Michael said. "Would you like some coffee?" Howard nodded. "Thank you." Olivia sat next to her father. His hands were trembling. "I'm sorry," Howard suddenly said. "I'm truly sorry." Tears welled up in his eyes. "What happened?" Olivia quietly asked. "Ashley and Charles split up right after the ceremony," Howard explained in a tired voice. All his lies were revealed. Not only was he unemployed, but he also had debts. The wedding proceeded, but they stayed in separate rooms, and the next day, everything was cancelled. Olivia said nothing. Complex emotions swirled in her heart. "Ashley is now with your mother," Howard continued. "She wants to see you." Michael returned with coffee. "How is it?" he gently asked. "We know what we did," Howard said painfully. "We kicked you out and treated you like a worthless person. In reality, you were the most valuable person." "Valuable?" Olivia quietly asked. "What do you mean?" Howard lowered his eyes in shame. "We were deluded by appearances and titles. It's not that you have value because Michael is a successful businessman. We've realized that." Olivia took a deep breath. "You understand now. Will you forgive us?" There was a pleading look in Howard's eyes. "Can we start over?" After a long silence, Olivia quietly said, "I want you to reconsider what family means. Not titles or appearances, but respecting and supporting each other. Michael cherished me from when he was thought to be a cleaner. That's true love." Howard nodded. "I understand. Thank you for teaching me." That evening, Eleanor and Ashley also visited. Tears, apologies, and long conversations followed. Wounds wouldn't heal in a day, but it was certain that the first step toward healing had been taken. Rumors spread that Charles had left Boston and started anew in another city. Ashley had begun to re-examine her values and started participating in local volunteer activities. Howard and Eleanor were also beginning to change. Especially Howard, who had begun working as a mentor at a local vocational training center, deepening his interactions with people from various social strata. 6 months later, Olivia and Michael held a modest dinner party at their home. The guests were her parents and Ashley. She came alone. During the meal, Olivia raised her glass. "I have an announcement to make," she smiled. "We're expecting a baby." The room was filled with joyful voices. Eleanor shed tears, and Ashley gently embraced her sister. Howard exchanged a firm handshake with Michael. "It's never too late to become a real family," Olivia whispered to Michael later. The twilight sky visible from their house window was beautifully colored, as if promising a new beginning.